Across different parts of the world, there are ancient structures that continue to stand out, not just for their age, but for the scale and effort involved in building them. These include underground cities carved deep into rock, in massive stone circles arranged across open landscapes, and entire complexes shaped directly into cliffs and mountains. Many of these sites were constructed thousands of years ago, using tools and techniques that were far more limited than what is available today. Despite that, they show a level of planning, organization, and precision that remains difficult to fully account for. Moving large amounts of material, shaping stone, and coordinating labor across challenging environments would have required sustained effort over long periods. In this video, we look at several of these structures, focusing on how they were built and what makes them stand out even now. Located in Turkey, in the region known as Cappadocia, there are entire underground cities carved directly into soft volcanic rock. These aren't just cellars or small shelters. They are fully developed settlements, built multiple stories beneath the surface, complete with living quarters, kitchens, stables, storage rooms, churches, and ventilation systems. The most studied of these is Derinkuyu Underground City. It extends at least 18 stories underground. The tunnels connect rooms on each level, and large circular stone doors, some weighing close to half a ton, were used to seal individual sections from the inside. Each door had a small hole in the center, just large enough to push a spear through, but too narrow for an attacker to reach in and roll it open. The depth alone is not the only impressive aspect. The organization stands out just as much. Every level had a specific function. Animals were kept near the top. Food and wine were stored lower down where temperatures stayed cool. Fresh air moved through a central ventilation shaft that dropped nearly 55 meters to the bottom. The people who built this understood airflow, structural load, and long-term habitation underground. The rock itself, a material called tuff, formed from compressed volcanic ash, is soft enough to carve with basic tools. That made it workable, but it still required removing enormous amounts of material by hand and transporting it out through narrow tunnels. Researchers usually connect these cities to early Christian communities seeking shelter from persecution and later from Arab raids, beginning around the 7th and 8th centuries. But some evidence suggests earlier use, possibly going back to the Hittites. The coordination required is still difficult to fully explain. Planning multiple levels at that depth is one challenge. Keeping the structure stable is another. Organizing the labor across decades adds another layer entirely.
That level of planning has not been fully matched. Avebury is located in Wiltshire in England and is one of the largest prehistoric stone circles in the world.
Unlike Stonehenge, which is more compact, Avebury is so large that an entire village exists inside it.
This vast ancient circle stretches roughly hundreds of meters in diameter and originally held around numerous standing stones. Inside that, there were two smaller circles. The whole complex is surrounded by a massive earthwork, a circular ditch and bank that required moving an estimated 200,000 tons of chalk by hand. The stones themselves vary in size,
with some weighing between 40 and 60 tons. They were not shaped or dressed, but selected from nearby sarsen fields on the Marlborough Downs.
It's about 2 kilometers away. They were then moved to the site without any confirmed use of wheels or draft animals.
Estimates suggest that moving a single large stone across that distance would have required hundreds of people working together.
The earthwork surrounding the stones presents an equally demanding task. The ditch was cut into solid chalk using tools made from antler and bone. At points, it reaches 9 meters deep and 21 meters wide. The chalk was then piled on the outer edge to form the bank.
It is widely thought to have served as a ceremonial or ritual center, likely drawing people from across a wide region.
The site is generally dated to around 2850 to 2200 BCE, placing it in the Neolithic and early Bronze Age.
It is widely thought to have served as a ceremonial or ritual center, likely drawing people from across a wide region.
Features like the long avenue of paired stones leading away from the circle suggest it was part of a much larger, organized landscape.
It is still not fully understood how all of this was coordinated.
Who organized the labor remains unclear. How communities sustained that level of effort over long periods is another open question. The scale of the work is clear,
but the reasoning behind it is still being studied. Central Turkey, near the modern village of Boğazkale, is home to Hattusa,
the capital of the Hittite Empire around 1600 to 1200 BCE. What exists here today is a large, spread-out city built across rocky hills, with massive stone walls, gates, temples, and administrative buildings still visible. The scale of Hattusa becomes clear quickly.
The city covers several square kilometers, surrounded by defensive walls that once stretched over 6 kilometers in length.
These walls weren't just simple barriers. They were built using large limestone blocks at the base, with mud brick structures rising above, and reinforced with towers at regular intervals. Some of these stones weigh several tons, meaning they had to be quarried and shaped and moved across uneven terrain. The terrain itself adds to the difficulty. Hattusa is not built on flat land. It sits on a series of ridges and slopes, which means construction required careful planning. Builders had to level areas for large structures like the Great Temple, while also integrating roads, gates, and walls into the natural landscape. Among the most well-known features are the Lion Gate and the King's Gate, both made from large carved stone blocks. Such monumental entrances are not only defensive structures but also show a high level of stoneworking skill. Moving and placing these stones precisely would have required coordinated labor and effective organization. Inside the city, there are remains of storage buildings, temples, and royal residences. Archaeologists believe the Hittites used a combination of manual labor, ramps, and possibly wooden sledges to transport materials. The level of planning suggests a centralized authority managing large groups of workers over long periods. How such large-scale construction was maintained consistently across a challenging landscape is still not fully understood, especially with the tools available at the time. The scale alone continues to make this one of the most impressive ancient urban constructions. Near the city of Luoyang, the Longmen Grottos form a large collection of rock-cut caves and carvings created along limestone cliffs beside the Yi River.
This site dates mainly from the Northern Wei and Tang dynasties, roughly between the 5th and 8th century CE,
and contains more than 2,000 caves and niches carved directly into the rock face. The extent of the work becomes clear along the cliff walls. The carvings stretch for about 1 kilometer, with over 100,000 Buddhist statues of varying sizes. Some figures are only a few centimeters tall, while others, like the famous Vairocana Buddha, reach over 17 meters in height. To put that into perspective, that's roughly the height of a 5-story building carved directly into solid rock. The effort required is significant. The workers had to remove large volumes of limestone using basic tools like chisels and hammers, shaping not just empty caves but detailed sculptures inside them. Every statue, facial feature, and decorative element had to be carved in place, meaning mistakes could not easily be corrected. Builders likely used wooden frameworks anchored into the rock, allowing teams to work at different heights simultaneously. Organization also played a major role. These grottos were created over several centuries, often sponsored by emperors, officials, and wealthy families. This suggests a continuous, coordinated effort involving skilled artisans, laborers, and planners working across generations. Researchers believe the site served both religious and political purposes, demonstrating devotion while also reinforcing the scale and precision of carving directly into a cliff, continue to make this one of the most demanding construction efforts to account for. Carved directly into the cliff face, these massive Buddha statues dwarf the landscape. Nearby, fierce guardian figures stand. In the Andean highlands of Peru, at an altitude of over 3,000 meters, Chavin de Huantar is a ceremonial. It sits at the meeting point of 2 rivers, surrounded by steep mountain terrain, and consists of stone temples, plazas, and an internal network of narrow passageways. The main structure, often called the Old and New Temple, is built from large, carefully shaped stone blocks. These blocks were transported without the use of wheels or draft animals across uneven and elevated terrain. Many of them weigh several tons, which means they had to be moved using human labor. likely with ropes, rollers, and ramps. The internal design stands out clearly. Inside the temple, there is a complex system of galleries and corridors that run through the structure. These passageways are narrow, dark, and deliberately disorienting. At the center lies the Lanzon, a large carved stone figure over 4 meters tall, placed deep within the structure. Positioning something of that size inside a confined stone building would have required precise planning from the beginning. The construction also includes a drainage system built beneath the site. Channels were carved to control water flow from the surrounding rivers, and building at this altitude adds another layer of difficulty. Workers had to deal with thinner air, colder temperatures, and limited resources. Organizing large groups of people under these conditions suggests strong leadership and long-term planning. Researchers believe the site functioned as a major religious center, drawing people from different regions. The design of the internal spaces may have been intended to control movement and create specific experiences during rituals. Planning and executing such a complex internal layout with this level of precision remains difficult to fully explain, especially without written architectural plans. The combination of location, scale, and internal complexity continues to make this site hard to fully account for.